The Red Sox needed a win in the post-Roman Anthony era, and my goodness, they got a big one here today. Unlikely hero stepping up for the Red Sox here today. You had Hamilton coming through here late in the game, Connor freaking Wong coming through here, and then Nick Sogard coming through in the end. You gotta love it, man. You don't got the Roman Empire with the Red Sox at this point. And, you're looking for these other guys like Bregman, Duran to start doing a little bit more. And, hey, not good days for them. But it's nice to see that these guys who haven't, let's be real, the best players really for the Red Sox this year. They've done some things, but I think we can all say, we've had our frustrations with Connor Wong and David Hamilton, even Sogard at times. Nice to see guys like that stepping up in a big way. Now we just need these other guys to start coming through. Bregman, Duran, where are you? Trevor Story, he's doing what he can out there, both offensively and defensively. We got to get these other guys going, man. Even like Nate Lowe, he's been just great since coming over to the Red Sox, and he contributed here today as well. This offense, they've been scrapping here the last few games. Even, you go back, even when they still had Roman, you had Bregman still trying to find his way. You saw Duran a bit up and down, getting a little bit cold at times. So they've been dealing with some things here, but when you had Roman there, it was taking that pressure off to where you still felt okay, but without him, you're going to need all hands on deck. And you got that here today with this Red Sox team. Offensively, they had their difficulties early on. They were able to come through there in the end. Final score 7-4 today. Trevor Story, like I said, looking great here today. 89 RBIs on the year. Will he get to 100? I'm not sure, but I think he can get to 90. That's a pretty decent spot if you ask me. But the offense, they were chugging here today. You had some key moments where you could have come up with something early on, and they just couldn't quite get through there, right? And then again, you had these three guys stepping up in a big way. I will say this. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I will say, this offseason, again, I'm focused on this year. I am focused on what we have right in front of us. I want the Red Sox to go out there this offseason and go get a guy for the middle of the order. That's what I'm looking for. I feel like, I even looked at the numbers. This year, the Red Sox 3, 4, and 5 hitters together rank 17th in all of Major League Baseball when it comes to WRC+. In the second half, a little bit better, 14th overall. Yes, Trevor Story, he's been doing his thing, But when you're looking at just the weighted runs created, I want the Red Sox to make an improvement there this coming offseason. I feel like you're seeing it now, especially now that you don't have that guy at the top of the order. So who could you go after? Well, I got my eyes on Kyle Schwarber. Could we have a reunion possibly? I feel like they need, I know he's been batting second a lot this year, but you know what I mean? Go get someone for the middle of the order that can help take some pressure off, It's kind of something I was thinking about here the last couple of days, but hey, they figured it out here today. Brian Bello. Not a bad day for Brian Bello at all. He got a little wild early on, a couple of wild pitches, and one of them came back to bite him. But, overall, he was fine for the most part. He was able to get through here today. The fact that he can get through 6 innings the way he did without really, getting a whole ton of strikeouts, some wild pitches along the way, lacking command, giving up a couple of hard hit balls as well. Still able to give you 6 solid. I think there's even an argument where maybe he could have even gone back out for the 7th inning. He was showing a couple of cracks there in the 6th inning. I'll get to that when we go over his performance, but I think you could say there was an argument for him to go out there for the 7th inning. Bullpen. Well, if you just saw the end of the game here, holy cow. What else does Aroldis Chapman have to do to convince you that we are right before our eyes witnessing one of the great Red Sox reliever seasons? We've been talking about this here over the last week or so. He's approaching historic territory, but he added even more to that here today. The man struck out 4. You might be asking if you didn't watch today. Robbie, what do you mean he struck out 4? What are you talking about here? Well, even though he didn't give up any hits or walks, he struck out 4. How? Well, he threw a wild pitch and on a strikeout. The man got on, so he ended up getting 4 strikeouts in the inning. My goodness. Aroldis Chapman. What else does this guy have to do? Well, I mean, hey, he is well on his way to possibly passing Jonathan Papelbon for the single-season ERA record in Red Sox history. He's at a 0.98 right now. Papelbon had a 0.92 back in 2006. We'll see. Knock on wood. I don't want to jinx it, but he's getting closer and closer to that mark. What a pleasure it's been to watch this kind of a season for Aroldis Chapman. You know, I've talked about it. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Koji Uehara back in 2013, right? You know, even go back to that Papelbon 2006 season. That was so fun to watch. You know, that was a season. 2006, if I were to rewind here a little bit, anytime I think of 2006, I just think, you had a decent team that year, but you're just having injuries. It just wasn't their year. It wasn't a bad team by any means, but you just had other teams in that American League. And then they went out there and had that massive offseason for 2007, winning the World Series that next year. But Papelbon was one of the highlights of that year. And then he went down with some shoulder fatigue at the end of that season. And that's kind of one of the few things I remember about that 06 season. Chapman's been great. He's been great. Who do we got here in the chat? We got Moose. We got Matthew. We got Emily. We got John. We got Griffin and Brian. We got Julio in here. Jennifer, how you doing? We got Suki. How we doing? I am the assassin. Hello, my friend. How we doing? How we doing? Everybody, welcome to the show today. Brought to you by Foul Territory. We're going to get into this here. We'll talk about Bello's performance. We'll talk about the offense, what led to the comeback win here today, the clutch hits that we got late in the game. I'll talk about those. And we got another West Coast series coming up here. Not the Oakland A's. We got the Sacramento A's. We're going to go get a taste of that ballpark out there at Sacramento. And that's a late one, man. That's a late one tomorrow night. That is 10 p.m. Eastern time. We got a late show here tomorrow, but that's okay. I'm always going to have fun doing these shows no matter what time. It might mess with my sleep schedule a little bit, but that's all right. We'll be back here tomorrow night for the post-game coverage. That'll probably be around 12:30 a.m., 1 a.m. Eastern time. So if you're looking for a late night show tomorrow, I'll be here. But let's get to it, everybody. We got a lot to talk about here for today's game. We do have a couple of sponsors today, though. Let's get to one of those before we go any further. Game on. Week 1 starts now, and every touchdown brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. This isn't just football, it's first touchdown fireworks, anytime TD rushes, and live bets that ride every momentum shift. At DraftKings, every play is your next shot to win. Your season starts now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL, that's code FOUL, to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more, plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Alrighty, let's get to it here, shall we? Let's talk about Brayan Bello. Sinkers leading the way for Bello here today. Cutters, changeups, sweepers, four-seamers as well. The sinker did see a bit of an increase in some velo today. He was throwing some 98-mile-an-hour sinkers across the plate there today. I was like, holy cow. Look at Brayan Bello just pumping some velo. But Bello didn't help himself out a few times here in this one. In the second inning, Moreno had the base hit. Wild pitch moved him over. Blaze Alexander ended up getting the base hit that made it 1-0. And we saw some more wildness in the fourth inning. Corbin Carroll, great series for him. My goodness, Corbin Carroll, easily one of the best players in the game. And this guy he had a fractured wrist a month ago, for crying out loud? My goodness. But Carroll had the base hit, ground out, moved him over to second base. He stole third base, and another wild pitch made it 2-1 at the time. Sixth inning, got a couple of outs, and then Carroll with the walk, Moreno with the double, and, if you didn't watch today's game, it wasn't, like this hard hit double into the gap. It was a blooper out to right field. Ref Snyder gave a good chase, made a diving attempt, almost had it, couldn't quite come up with it. But, more of a blooper, kind of a double there. But then he was able to get out of it. He got McCarthy to ground out. So overall, pretty solid line here for Bello today. 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 earned, 2 Ks, 1 walk. Of course, you'd like to see a few more strikeouts, but we've talked about this with Bello. He's really embraced more of that pitch-to-contact mentality, letting the defense work behind him. You would like to see a couple more Ks, just to kind of help himself out a little bit. It is what it is. Now, I will say this. You know what? Let's... Yeah, I'll talk about this. I'll talk about this now. So, for the seventh inning, I'll get to all the offense here in a second, but seventh inning, you had Zach Kelly come in. Bello was at, let me just confirm, I believe it was 91 pitches. It was 91 pitches for Bello here today. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, he gave up the blooper in the 6th there. He walked Carroll. But, I just thought to myself, yes, giving up the run, of course, but I just thought maybe he might have earned himself, another inning. I don't want to say earned. Maybe that's not the right word because he did give up a run there in the 6th, but I felt like maybe he had another one in him. Third time through the order this year, Bello has not been really all that bad. ERA and FIP in the 3s. We see a lot of guys here in the major leagues this year, over the last couple of years, few years, honestly, where third time through the order, that ERA really jumps up. But for Bello, it's still pretty steady for the most part. I do understand, maybe, you see maybe he's tiring out a little bit there. You want to go with a fresh arm. I think that's fine, obviously. But, Zach Kelly coming in there, Kelly did have that good performance a few days ago. 4 innings, looked pretty solid. But a very low leverage situation there for Zach Kelly. He's had his issues this year, going back down to the minors, coming back up. Was that the right spot for Zach Kelly to come in? Or would you rather him kind of build up that trust a little bit more? I get it, guys like Greg Weissert, he's been working lately. But could you have maybe even just gone with Steven Matz? I have talked about Matz, where high leverage situations tend not to be the best for him, but I feel like Matz could have been all right in that situation. I just feel like Kelly, he only just got called back up recently. I didn't like him in that spot, necessarily. That's just me. It is what it is. But he ended up having the bad inning there, right? So, let me double check. Who was the one that got to him there in the 7th inning? It was, it was Jordan Lawler. He got Blaze Alexander on the strikeout. Alec Thomas had the base hit. He walked Locklear. Lawler had the base hit. And then I tied it up at 4 at the time. So, again, I don't know. Would have Matz maybe have been better in that spot? And the reason I'm even bringing this up, Robbie, what's the big deal? Why does this matter? You won the game. Well, I don't know. I'm looking at the bullpen management, and I want this to be really locked down here over the next month or so. It really would help if Slayton was doing all right. Of course, that's definitely something to consider. But you look at Whitlock, who ended up going an inning and 2/3. I get, but then of course you could look at, get back to the devil's advocate thing here where, you'd rather just have Whitlock go 1 inning. You don't want to have Whitlock go scheduled for 2 innings, right? But he ended up going an inning and 2/3 anyway. So again, I just don't know if I like Kelly in that spot. Maybe if you put him in a couple other different situations, builds up that trust a little bit more, I think I'd be cool with that. In the end, it worked out, but just a bit of a nitpick maybe on my end, of course. You had just taken the lead. It just stunk having to, give the Dbacks the opportunity to tie it back up there when you really just needed a win here today. I did not, of course, no one wants to get swept, but with the circumstances the Red Sox have been given here over the last few days, I just didn't want to get swept here today. I really wanted this one, so it is what it is. I'll be interested to see how he manages Zach Kelly moving forward. We'll get back to the bullpen in just a second. Let's get to the offense today. Let's see what led to all of this. And like I said, you continue to have some issues, especially in the early part of the game, right? First 6 innings, you really had nothing going minus Trevor Story. Second inning, Story with a double, Refsnyder with the walk, but then Hamilton with a double play. Bottom of the second, the D-backs scored on the Blaze Alexander hit, made it 1-0. Fourth inning, Bregman drew the walk. Duran with the ground out, moved him over to third. Story, RBI base hit that tied it up at 1. And then you really had nothing after that for the next few innings. And then the 7th inning, Story once again getting things started, this time with a hit by pitch. Steals his 27th base. That's just what Story does. We talk about this every single time that man gets on first base. He always steals. And then Nate Lowe, bit of a little, what's the right word? Little knuckler over to third base. Ended up getting the base hit there. And then Romy ended up pinch hitting for Refsnyder. Interesting pinch hit there, right? Because he was going up against the righty. But Romy's been that hot. Ended up getting the ground ball to first base. Tyler Locklear with a great play and ended up keeping the ball in the infield from getting to the outfield. But he was able to get Romy out at first base. But that moved Story and Lowe over to second and third. And then David Hamilton coming through here. Base hit up the middle, made it 3-2. He ended up stealing second. Wong, hard ground ball. Well, not really, not a hard ground ball. Ground ball to third base. But Lawler ended up bobbling it. Got himself right, though, but then made the bad throw. Made it 4-3. So Connor Wong, another picturesque Connor Wong hero moment. We all know the struggles of Connor Wong this year. So that's just such a Connor Wong clutch hit. Ground ball to third, and the third baseman just screws it up. We love Connor Wong around here. We love Connor Wong. But then the D-backs, again, Zach Kelly coming in for the 7th. Jordan Lawler with the RBI base hit, tied it up. And then the 9th inning, this is where the heroics happen. Romy with the base hit. Romy just continues to stay hot. Nate Eaton with the walk. Sogard, 6th double left center. Diving attempt. Weren't able to come up with it. That made it 6-4. Carlos Narvaez getting in on the action. RBI base hit, made it 7-4. And then Chapman coming in, 4 strikeouts. 4 strikeouts. Even though he didn't get any base hits or walks off of him, he still found a way to strike out 4. Maybe he did that. Did he do that on purpose? Did he do the wild pitch on purpose? He was bored out there today. He said, you know what? I want to get 4 strikeouts here today. That sounds about right. But Chapman, 29th save. Easily one of the best relievers in all of Major League Baseball this year. Big shout out to Garrett Whitlock as well. Keeping things in check, not letting it get away from you after Zach Kelly came in and wasn't able to hold things down. Whitlock and Chapman, they've been one of the best 1-2 punches in all of Major League Baseball this year. We need to get an NBA Jams kind of a t-shirt where you got Chapman and Whitlock. You know what I'm talking about? Where you had the two players side by side and it had like their stats or whatever in the middle, their attributes. That's what we need. Chapman and Whitlock. 1-2 punch. You can't beat that. Good win for the Red Sox here today. You got to love that. Again, it's been tough here the last few days, not having Roman. You did lose the series. It is what it is, but let's try and carry that momentum here into Sacramento against the A's. We'll talk about that series here in a second. We'll check on the standings. We do have one more word from our sponsor, though. I'll be right back.
FT fam, designer clothes can be expensive, but we want our clothes to look good. We want to feel good. We want them to be affordable. And Kratz, if you tell me that I can wear a t-shirt that looks like it's tailored, but it's not actually tailored, and it just comes that way, then sign me up for True Classic.
Have to. You got to sign up for it because these shirts are soft, they're thin, they're durable, and they're very versatile. You can wear them to the gym. You can wear them out to a nice dinner. Let's get after it because these shirts are the real deal.
They are. Check it out. I've got one of the performance ones. It's a nice blue, fits well. I can go to the gym. I can go out. I can do FT in a shirt like this. FT fam, there's a reason why True Classic has sold over 25 million shirts to more than 5 million customers, and they are racking up over 200,000 5-star reviews. See for yourself with our exclusive link at trueclassic.com/foul to save. That's trueclassic.com/FOUL.
Alrighty, let's check on the standings here. Let's see what we got going on here. I got to refresh the screen. Taking a look-see. While the Yankees picking up a win here today, they get their 80th win on the season. They remain a game and a half ahead of the Red Sox, and the Mariners also winning here today. The Mariners, holy cow, they scored like 800 runs today. It was like 18-2 the last time I checked. I don't know if they got any more after that, but man, oh man, really helping out their run differential here today. But they all win. Nothing changes when it comes to the wild card standings. The Rangers picking up a win, keeping pace with the Mariners, a game and a half behind. The Royals did lose today. They fall back to 2 games. The Guardians did win here today. They're 2.5 games out. The Rays, they dropped their 3rd straight. They're now back to 4 games out. So right now, you're looking at 4 teams. The Mariners, Rangers, Royals, and the Guardians all gunning for that 3rd wildcard spot. But good job for the Red Sox here today, keeping pace, especially with the Mariners and the Rangers winning here today. So you needed that win here today. Looking at the division, we're going to keep our eyes on the division. And hey, the Blue Jays lost today. The Blue Jays lost, and just like that, you're back to 3.5 out. 3.5 out in the division. Listen, we got that big matchup coming up in a couple of weeks in Toronto. You've had your tough times against the Blue Jays this year, but, listen, that is a possibility. That is a possibility. I'm not giving up on this division. And we're feeling pretty good here today after salvaging the series. No, it's not the same as, I'd feel a lot better if they won this series, right? But hey, I'll take the positives where I can. 3.5 out of the division, and now the Yankees are 2 out in the division. So the Yankees, they got a series against the Tigers coming up. That's going to be a tough matchup for them. We got the A's. And listen, you know what? If there's a chance here to really make up some ground, this is it. The Yankees, they got a tough matchup with Detroit. The Blue Jays, they got Houston. And we got the A's. Listen, if you could find it, you should be able to win this series. I mean, look, I'm knock on wood. I'm not trying to jinx anyone here, but if you're looking at it just from a matchup point of view, the Red Sox should be able to win this series. Will they? That's a different question, right? Anything can happen, right? But, hey, this is a good shot over the next few days to really make up some ground. We'll see. And taking a look at the pitching matchups here. And, hey, good news for tomorrow. It's Pig Day, ladies and gentlemen. Garrett Crochet, we got the late night edition of Garrett Crochet. Had a rough start last time out against Cleveland. He was looking good there, and all of a sudden they just exploded for, what was it, 3 home runs, 20 home runs? I can't remember. It just felt like a lot of home runs in the 7th inning, 6th inning? Can't remember. But anyway, they took him to town and ended up having one of the worst starts of his entire season. But Garrett Crochet looking to bounce back. You do have a tough matchup against Luis Morales. This guy's one of the better younger pitchers in the game, one of the higher-ranked prospect for the A's. So that is not going to be easy. Dustin May going back to the rotation for Game 2, going up against Jeffrey Springs. Who remembers Jeffrey Springs? Does that ring a bell for anyone? Jeffrey Springs, Red Sox legend. Who remembers Jeffrey Springs from 2020? Pitched out of the bullpen for them. 16 games, ERA at a 7.08. And then he went to Tampa, and the guy was amazing. Remember that? So we got a shot for some revenge against Jeffrey Springs. But so, I mean, let's see what Dustin May can do. Remember, he went to the bullpen. So first time back in the rotation since. And it has not been announced who the starter is going to be for Game 3. Now, Kyle Harrison did pitch. It was a doubleheader today in Worcester. He pitched 1 inning. There was no injury or anything like that. They've just been limiting his innings. Could he be in line possibly to get that start? Peyton Tolley looked rough against the Dbacks this weekend. Could this be an opportunity here for Kyle Harrison? Connolly Early has also been pitching really well. Could maybe he leapfrog Harrison, maybe get the call? So that's going to be interesting to see who gets that start. We'll see. But everybody, I'm going to wrap it up right there. That's all we got here for today on the Sunday evening edition of Monster Territory. If you can on the way out, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 5K by the end of the season. We got a few weeks to get there. We'll see if we can get there. Everybody, I'm out of here for tonight. Go enjoy the rest of your night. We'll be back here late tomorrow night. I'll see you then.